The story of The Last of Us Part 2 is a bit problematic, and a lot of fans didn't like the sequel to the best story game ever made. Probably because it kills off Joel, the main character from the first game. That's like killing off Kratos in God of War and Atreus is the main character. Oh shit, that could actually happen. So I have created an alternate story where Joel doesn't die. But before we get started, please hit that subscribe button. And also a disclaimer, I have taken some creative freedom for myself in this story. And please watch the full story before you comment anything. There's not an official alternate ending, this is just fan fiction created by me. So let's get started. My story starts just like the game did. Joel tells Tommy about the events of the first game and Tommy and Joel get back to Jackson. Then we cut to Abby and a group of friends, which consist of everybody we kill in The Last of Us Part 2 to get our so-called revenge. They get into an abandoned house near Jackson. They realize they have no firewood and no food. So the boys and the girls play a little game. The girls will find the firewood and the boys will go hunt. Whichever group comes back to the mansion later will have to build a fire and cook. Both groups accept the challenge and set out. The boys come across a deer and shoot it. They manage to get the deer, but a horde of infected get alerted due to their gunshot and attack the boys. The boys try to fight themselves but are overwhelmed after Mike and Nick get killed by the infected. The others then decide to bail and run away, but they find themselves surrounded by infected. Just as the runner is about to catch Manny, Joel and Tommy, who are on patrol, shoot the infected and rescue them. But there are more infected behind. All of them get to the horses and just get past their infected. Joel then says his line, "That was too damn close." They need to find shelter and Owen suggests that they should go back to the house. They get there and they exchange names. When Joel tells them his name, they realize that Joel is the guy they came here looking for. And they show it on their faces just like in the game. Joel and Tommy understand that these guys know who they are and Joel says, "You guys seem to know us." Then Jordan throws a punch at Joel but Joel defends. Joel and Tommy take cover and they get into a firefight. Joel and Tommy end up killing Jordan, Owen and Manny. After killing Jordan, Owen and Manny, they escape. But after they leave, Manny is still alive. He crawls to his bag on his last breath and gets a tape recorder. He records the words, "It's him. Joel did this to us. He killed Owen, Jordan and me." And then he succumbs to his injuries. Meanwhile, the girls head into a lodge to get some firewood. They are also attacked by the infected and a runner attacks Abby. Abby and the runner crash through a window, falling 2 stories down. Abby finally shoots the runner but is impaled by a pipe in the process. Abby passes out in the snow and the screen goes black. The game cuts to 4 years earlier. We see Abby and her father Jerry hunting. Abby accidentally falls off and gets scratched badly by a rock. Her father teaches her how to stitch up a wound and they get back to the Firefly base. After that, we get some glimpses into Abby's life 4 years ago. We see how happy she is with her father and Owen, and how much she likes being a Firefly. And also a gym workout scene because I need her workout routine. We see how Abby and her father are so happy even with the ongoing pandemic. Then we get the zebra flashback from the game, and we see Jerry's death and the hands of Joel. Abby discovers her father's body and the scene mirrors the one from the first game where Joel is weeping with Sarah's dead body in her arms. The same image of Abby holding her lifeless father in her arms is seen in this scene. Abby is weeping with the body of a lifeless father in her arms. After that, we see how Abby's father's death and disbanding of the Fireflies affects her. Her life is uprooted. Owen and Abby leave the hospital alone, and we see what they're going through. We see them killing infected, sleeping in dirty rooms with no windows, living in fear of always getting attacked, and Abby just can't get her dead father's image out of her mind. We see how both of their lives have been uprooted and how it's gone to shit. Abby swears to Owen that she will revenge her father's death, and they join the WLF, the Washington Liberation Front. And their lives improve with time. Owen and Abby have become really close due to what they have been through and start dating seriously. They look out for each other in this messed up world. While at WLF, she meets a Dr. John. Now, Dr. John isn't really a character in the game, it's a character who I have made up for the purposes of this story. While at WLF, she meets a doctor who worked for the Fireflies and knew Jerry. He was supposed to be there at the surgery but couldn't make it in time. He apologizes for Jerry's death, and Abby says that she will revenge him one day. Dr. John asks Abby if she has a father's notebook. Abby says she doesn't. Dr. John tells her that maybe if we can get her father's notes and the immune girl, then I can synthesize a vaccine. So if you track down the man who saved that girl, maybe you can track down the girl. A few years later, Abby gets a lead that Joel's brother Tommy is in a town called Jackson. She gathers up her friends and leaves for the town. After that, we cut to Joel and Ellie, immediately after the first game. They settle in Jackson and Joel teaches Ellie how to play the guitar like we saw in the game. We get everything between the first game and this one. We get the scene when Joel teaches the guitar to Ellie. Music store trip scene.
Let's go get Tommy and we can get these bodies back to Jackson. Yeah.
After you took me out of the Firefly hospital, you said there were dozens of people like me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they told me.
I've never met another immune person before. Have you?
I could be hiding it. You do.
Do you believe that?
Is now really the time for this?
We traveled across the entire country to bring me to the Fireflies. I had so many questions for them. Why did you pull me out of there while I was still unconscious?
Because I let them run their tests. And when I saw that they were useless, I got us out of there.
How do you know they were useless? Maybe if you just would have given them more time, they could have figured something out.
There was no cure. There's nothing that could help these people or anybody else. I know you wish things were different. I wish things were different. But they ain't. And we need to get these kids back to their families. Is there something else you'd like to rehash?
No.
Ellie gets more and more curious on finding about the truth with the Fireflies. Until one day she sneaks off alone from Jackson and goes to St. Mary's Hospital. She is searching all over the hospital for clues on what happened. Now in the real game, Ellie finds a tape recorder and Joel tells her the rest. But in this version, Ellie comes across Dr. John, who is searching for Jerry's notes in the hospital. Dr. John introduces himself to Ellie and explains that if he can get the notes of the head doctor, he can make a vaccine. He also fills in Ellie about the truth about what happened at the hospital. When asked by Dr. John why Ellie is here, Ellie says she came looking for Marlene. Dr. John tells Ellie that unfortunately Marlene is dead, killed by the same man who killed all those doctors and saved that immune girl. Dr. John explains to Ellie that there's an immune girl out there, and with these notes he can make a vaccine if he gets the immune girl also. After Ellie's conversation with Dr. John leaves. Shortly after, Joel finds Ellie. Ellie is extremely angry at Joel and she tells Joel that she knows about what happened. Then we see the bar fight from the game and how Joel defends Ellie. Then we see this scene.
You're such an asshole.
I'm not trying to.
I was supposed to die in that hospital. My life would have fucking mattered. But you took that from me.
somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
Yeah. I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
I'd like that.
The very next day, Joel and Tommy are on patrol and they get ambushed. After killing Manny, Owen, and Jordan, they come across Abby. Abby wakes up in a medical room in Jackson and Joel introduces himself to her. Abby instantly knows that she is face to face with her father's killer, but doesn't show any emotions, and thanks Joel for saving her life. Joel takes care of Abby and checks up on her every day. Abby starts thinking that maybe Joel isn't that bad of a guy. Abby takes a few days to recover and then helps out in Jackson and even joins Tommy, Joel, and Ellie in group patrols. After she has fully recovered, Abby leaves Jackson to search for Owen and the rest of her friends. She doesn't see any sign of her friends, but when she reaches the house that they were taking shelter in, she sees the love of her life, the only one she cared about. The light in her life, dead, on the floor. She falls on her knees crying, with Owen's dead body in her arms. After some time, she notices a tape recorder next to Manny's body, and hears the recording. Her dilemma of whether or not to kill Joel instantly clears up. She realizes that she is alone. And Joel has an entire town on his side. But she comes up with a plan. She gets on her house and starts shooting in air to attract infected. The infected follow her all the way to Jackson's gates. The people, knowing who Abby is, open the gate for her. Some infected make it into the town and wreak havoc. While the whole town is distracted, Abby sneaks into Joel's house, knocks him out and ties him up. But then Ellie comes into the house searching for Joel. But she gets knocked out by Abby and tied up too. When both of them regain consciousness, Abby, with a gun in her hand, promises Joel that she will make it quick because he saved her life, and cocks the gun. Ellie yells out, "Stop." She says to Abby, "You'll never get out of Jackson alive." Abby says, "I don't mind. I have nothing to live for. He killed everyone I loved." Ellie says, "What if I got you out of Jackson and helped save the world?" Ellie asks her, does she know Dr. John in the WLF? Ellie tells her that he can make a cure from an immune girl. Abby realizes that Ellie is the immune girl that Joel saved. Ellie says that you have a chance to save the world if you let Joel go. Joel yells out, "No, kill me. Don't listen to her, kill me." Abby spares Joel and takes Ellie out of the house. Before going, Ellie tells Joel, "I forgive you, Joel, and now we can make it right." The screen goes black. Cut to 10 years later. The world has returned to a relatively normal state resembling the world you and I live in. Joel is still living in Jackson with Tommy, Maria, and his new wife Amy. There's a sound of a baby crying, and Joel goes into the house, picks her up. He says, "It's okay, Sarah, Daddy's here," and stares at a photo of him and Ellie on the wall. When the baby doesn't stop crying, there's a voice from behind saying, "Let me try." Joel turns around and we see Ellie in a wheelchair. We see a flashback in which Dr. John is telling Ellie that he may be able to develop a vaccine from her bone marrow instead of the brain, which means she will stay alive but will be paralyzed from the waist down. And Ellie says, "Do it." Then we fade into Ellie consoling the baby and the baby stops crying. And that's the end. No sequels, no part 3, that's it. In this story, there's grief in Abby's story. There's a hunger for revenge, but there is also forgiveness and sacrifice. Abby sacrifices her revenge in order to help save the world, showing that she is not as selfish as the man who killed her father. And that's it. If you like the video, please give it a like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.